Hello, everybody. Today we're looking at an ethical theory called ethical emotivism. Essentially, this is the theory that ethics are based on feelings and that it's clearly not objective reality as they actually are. Anyway, we're going to watch a clip here by none other than the biggest philosopher on YouTube, Alex O'Connor, and see what he has to say as he describes himself as a ethical emotivist. Here we go.
To be clear, if you were to say murder is wrong, I think the best way of getting at what your metaethics is to translate that into a different phrase that doesn't use the word wrong and see what you're actually trying to say. So murder is wrong, that might translate as something like, I don't like murder.
No. It's not about liking it or not liking it. It's about it being objectively right or wrong. Okay, let's continue with what he has to say.
That's not emotivism. That's moral subjectivism. Okay. Because to say I don't like murder is just to report a fact. It's just a fact. It's a true fact about my brain that I don't like murder. Sure. And so me saying murder is wrong, reporting that, would just be making a claim about my psychology. That's not what emotivism is.
Conflated things there. He conflated saying murder is wrong with being subjectivism, when it could be taken as an objective claim as well. I'll explain why, but let's continue.
Emotivism says that when you say murder is wrong, you are expressing the dislike itself. So saying murder is wrong is not the same thing as saying I don't like murder. It's expressing the dislike. So A.J. Ayer famously had it as murder is wrong translates roughly to something like boo murder.
Yeah. No, I mean, maybe that's what some people think. Maybe that's what Alex thinks here. That's when he says murder is wrong, he's just saying boo murder. But no, when we say that murder is wrong, we mean that it is objectively wrong. And why is it objectively wrong? Well, because it violates the axiom of the universe, A is A, right? And of course, you cannot understand this without understanding the whole framework, right? We have to start from the foundations, start from the bottom. Well, like I've done in other videos, but what is a person? What is man? Well, the person is a thinking, acting, to combine the two, a contractual being. Well, in order to contract, to live out its nature, right? And nature is not decided by us. The nature is what the nature is. It is our essential characteristics. Our essential characteristics is that what differentiates us from all of the animals is the fact that we are contractual, the fact that we think using rationality and we agree with others who are also rational, this contractual nature. So that's what we are. So murder is a violation of our nature. Murder says that it does not honor our nature, so therefore it is a contradiction. That's why it is wrong. All unethical behavior violates A as A. So murder violates our nature. Therefore, it is wrong. It is sort of faking our reality. To say that to murder somebody is not to honor the fact that they are rational, capable of acting with other rational human beings. It denies this fact. Therefore, it is a contradiction. Violence in general is a contradiction because of this exact principle. And therefore, we can objectively justify moral principles and objectively say that murder is wrong. We're not saying boo, boo. We're not saying this. We're saying, no, it's wrong because it violates our nature. Our nature is not something that we have decided. It is something that is. A is A. Let's continue.
You can think of it as the difference between saying murder and saying murder is wrong is like the difference between writing down murder and then writing down murder with an exclamation mark and an angry emoji. It adds something. It tells you something about the mental state of the person you're speaking to, but it doesn't add anything propositional. It doesn't change. It's not the kind of thing that can be true or false. This is the most radical thing about emotivism.
Well, that is true if you frame it that way, if you frame it as just a feeling. But as I just described, it has nothing to do with our feelings. It has to do with our nature. It has to do with honoring the nature. It has to do with obeying the law of identity, the law of non-contradiction. A is A.
It means that moral claims don't have truth value. They can't be true and false. The
That's good. They can't be true and false. A is A, right? A cannot be both A and B. No, A is A. Good job, Alex, there.
emotivist recognizes that if you pay attention to what's going on when you have a moral feeling, when you see a homeless person being kicked for no reason, what happens in your brain? Well, you've seen a set of objective facts. You can.
What happens in my brain is I realize that force is anti-human nature, and therefore wrong. And our emotions give us real information about the present, right? This is why anger is good, justified anger, right? In the moment, you see somebody being wronged and you get angry, well, it causes us to act and helps us to act morally. We'll continue.
Say a person has been kicked. That's true. It doesn't do anything moral. You could say, I don't like that this person has been kicked. That's reporting a psychological fact. Again, nothing moral, you're just stating facts. But there's this added element, there's this added thing that you feel, and it's something like don't. It's something like stop. It's something like boo.
Yeah, why? It's violating nature.
All of these things are not things that can have truth value. They're emotions.
See, that's where he goes wrong. They're not emotions. I mean, that's just a fundamental mistake here. He just views it as, yeah, it's just an emotional thing. I've already described how it has nothing to do with our emotions. Of course, our emotions and everything is based on reality. We need to have an integrated view of everything. Things can't just be separate. That it wouldn't make sense, right? If your one idea doesn't relate to the other and things are just separate, well, you need to integrate better. And I would say you have to start from the bottom and build up.
One of the ways that I would describe this is to imagine that we didn't have a word for anxiety, the feeling of anxiety. Imagine there was just no such word for it, and you were feeling anxious. And you were trying to describe to somebody how you felt. And you would say, well, it's a bit like being sad, but it's kind of like being excited at the same time. It would be difficult to explain. You could offer these
Well, complex emotions are more difficult to explain than basic emotions. Yeah, complex emotions often involve, or perhaps always involve, a combination of basic emotions. But yeah, anxiety is a little bit of dread plus excitement plus a bit of fear. Yeah, if people don't understand the basic emotions, then it'll be hard to understand. But that's true of anything. If people don't understand the building blocks of anything, it's going to be hard to understand the structure. It's not saying much. Definitely not disproving objective morality.
Analogies, but it's its own unique feeling. And what we've done is we've sort of identified that feeling and given it a name, which is anxiety. Now that
A is A. The law of identification. You might be sick of me saying this, but it's not going to end because this is always true. And the consequences of A is A leads to flourishing. It leads to everything that is good. Violation of A is A leads to everything that is bad, objectively.
that thing that you feel, that thing that makes things you consider to be immoral different from other kinds of events, whatever that thing is, I think we've also identified that emotion, put a label on it, and that label is good or bad or right and wrong, virtuous, not virtuous, these kinds of terms. I think they apply to an emotion. So a confusion about emotivism.
Well, they do apply to an emotion, but not as the base, not as the foundation, not as the primary, right? Our emotions are reflective of reality, of truth. Aristotle said this in disagreement with Plato. Plato said that our emotions were essentially irrational and chaotic and against our reason. Aristotle quickly corrected this and said that no, our emotions give us information about the present, and they help us to act morally, and they also helped us to persuade others not only to act morally, but to believe the truth. Emotions are a fundamental part of humans, and to dichotomize rationality and emotion is to divide our nature, which is a contradiction in itself. The human, the man, me, I am the irreducible whole. We cannot divide me into parts and make sense of it in the sense of what I am. I am the whole thing, and all these different parts are me. And because there are no contradictions, they cannot be at war with each other.
Is that good and bad sort of map on to other emotions? So when you say something is good, you mean to express pleasure or how impressed you are or something like that. These are all just analogies. It is its own unique sui generis emotion. It just belongs in that category. So when AS says boo murder, he doesn't mean that's what murder is wrong means. It just means something a bit like that. That's the best way of translating it into other emotive language. But whatever this wrong thing is that you feel, it belongs in that category of emotion. That's my view of emotivism. And I'll pass it on to you, but I will say that.
Okay, so yeah, that's his view of emotivism. I guess that means that's his view on ethics, that ethics is about emotivism. And you see, he didn't quite define. It's something like this. It's boo. It's something like you don't like it, but it's not quite it. It's the emoji. It's the exclamation point. It's the boo. It's the thumbs down all at the same time. It's something like this. You need to identify things, Alex. Things need to be identified. If you're starting with unidentified premises, you're going to lead to nonsense conclusions. If you identify your premises, you will understand that objective reality, and that includes everything. What is reality? Reality is all that is, all that is existing, all that exists. It is reality, right? And there can be no contradictions. If there is a contradiction, there's an error in your thinking. There's not an error in reality. So I hope you enjoyed this video today of me actually thinking on the spot, kind of unplanned, off the cuff. If you think I'm thinking badly, let me know. Have a good one.